Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerdicus Dave, and today I'm joined by Guy Schlanders from How to Be a Great Game Master. How are you today, sir?
I am doing very well, thank you. Very, very well indeed. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a while since we had a chance to chat.
That's true.
We've just been kind of catching up here, waiting for the go time, which almost ran over because of us catching up and talking. It's been a while. Like we used to chat on Facebook all the time, but since I've been deleted from Facebook, I don't talk to a lot of people.
That's horrid. That's horrid. That whole thing.
Yeah, I didn't. I must say I didn't like it. I have my Facebook account longer than my kids. So
Right? And so is it all just gone?
yeah, it's just gone. And there's like, I even tried some back channels, and I could not get anything going on with it. And I'm just like, all right, enough's enough already. I'm
Just
moving
move
on.
away. My goodness.
Which our Nerdarchy Instagram account was tied to that to my Facebook, so that got wiped out too. Thankfully, we didn't lose the page, the Nerdarchy
Okay.
page. It's just that the other guys have to manage it because I can't.
Good heavens. Oh man. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, what are you gonna do, man? I'm probably better off for it, but
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
well, you know
But
it's a
it's
weird thing, right? All the you being able to unplug a little bit,
yeah.
and it was like my favorite social media. Like I like find myself going to Twitter, and I'm like, ugh, I just don't like being on Twitter. Like the way you interact and the way it works is just not my style. I think I'm just old, and old people like Facebook. So
But I think Facebook's also changed though, because I maybe it's because we use it. I use it as a basically it's a reminder for when people's birthdays occur.
it's good for that. It is.
It is good for that. But I remember when it was more personal and people would share stuff. Nowadays, I don't know what it is. It's more advertising and politics and stuff than anything else. You know, I
Well,
certainly don't.
Netflix is a great documentary on social media. I forget what it's called, but it's like the way it works and how insidious it is. It's like it is just geared and trained. We're all just trained monkeys, right? Pushing the
Right.
button to get the food on Facebook, and literally like their algorithm is so tight. They're like, so and so hasn't done something and hasn't reacted to anything in a while. Here's something they usually react to. Show it to them,
Right.
and it's all like automated, and they're just like in your brain.
It is, but it's also, I mean, what irritates me, and I suppose you're like, no, but it's been a year now. Because when I was in Japan, I used to obviously get Japanese Facebook adverts, right?
Mhm.
I've been in the UK now for 10 months. I'm still getting Japanese advertising. And I've changed my location. Google knows that I have now left. Everybody knows that I have now left. Um, and every now and again, there's still an an advertisement for buying a old house somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And there are many times when I look at it and I go, if I could buy an ancient Japanese house in the middle of a bamboo forest, surrounded by nothing but silence and an artistically placed waterfall, might not be a bad thing actually, because internet in Japan's fantastic almost everywhere. So that wouldn't be a thing, right?
Yeah. So the social dilemma. Someone put in the chat. Thanks, Gene. Is the
Gene Armstrong.
documentary?
Hey, Gene Armstrong.
Yeah. So that's just crazy, but whatever. I've moved on. It's funny. The same day that I lost my Facebook, we got a new puppy, and so
I
she's
go hand in hand, don't they?
I guess so. Lose Facebook, get a puppy. But it took us a while to get the puppy. We'd been looking to get another dog,
Yeah.
and she's I don't know if you're an animal person, but she's a Mastiff Shar mix, so she has a squishy face, and that is the best part.
massive sharp hair. She's gonna be big.
Yeah, yeah. She's like 40 pounds now. Matter of fact, I think she's on her way to get weighed now.
My goodness. Yeah, that's going to be a big animal. Wow, we got Dead Aussie Gamer in chat. Lance Pickett, I'm seeing.
Yeah, yeah. And Mega, I will certainly pat the puppy for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's funny too. Like, so we used to have this chocolate lab that was 100 pounds. So we're not really strangers to bigger dogs.
Right.
And of course, like my wife and my daughter wanted to stay small, and the perfect dog for my daughter is when she can put in a purse. She's just that kind of girl. And but yeah, so I think but it was hard. It was hard to adopt a puppy, like, because yeah, the last time we went to a breeder and just picked a dog and got the dog we wanted. This time we're like, well, let's be responsible, and there's dogs that need a home. And I was like, I don't care, even if it's even like a young adult or a juvenile dog, I'd be fine with that. But it took like 4 months. Like, people wouldn't, like, the places wouldn't get back to you. I mean, COVID's going on, so it makes it harder. But like, you wouldn't even get emails back, and you're just filling out applications. It's like, why can't I just fill out one application and everybody gets it? And when you got a dog for me, let me know.
Right. So we need like a find a pet or something.
There is, but you still, like, it's the same thing. You still have to. I literally, like, I think that's how we got this dog. I think it was called Find a Dog or Find a Pet.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, rule 42. What is it? Is it 42 or 52? Which is the rule about internet?
It might be 42, but I thought that was specific to porn. But
oh, I thought that was the universal answer to everything. Which, yes, okay, fine, pornography, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. 42 is the universal answer to everything as well. From
yes. Rule 52, Guide. Isn't it? Yeah, 52. I don't know. Chat will tell us. They're much more intelligent.
Yeah, they know these things.
There you are.
Yeah. So how are you liking Baldur's Gate 3?
So I have to say that just the cinematics, I want to watch the movie. I don't want to play the game. I just want to watch the movie. The cinematics is stunning. But when I was playing the game, because I wanted to do a review on it, I was like, okay, cool, let me play this game. And what a great life to have to play a role-playing game for your day job. Right?
Yeah.
Until you suddenly sit back and you go, I just clocked 13 hours of work time today. It means nothing, but so no, I really, really enjoyed it. And I played it through as much as I could after about 13 hours. Then I went back to it and did another 5 hours. And I had a new character and did another 3 hours. And I have to say, what I really, really like about it is that there's so much hidden stuff in there that unlocks depending on your character build or on your character. It's more on the race than anything else. But they have made sure that if you are playing a Githyanki Ranger, you will have different quests and different outcomes to the same quests as if you're playing a Githyanki wizard or a dwarvish wizard or a human this or a human that. So the replayability factor, I think, is huge. And if you're putting in 20 plus hours and you're getting just to the end of Act 1, I think that's a pretty good game. I have to say it. And I didn't play Baldur's Gate 1 or Baldur's Gate 2. Never played either of those. Neverwinter Nights 1, I did not play. I played Neverwinter Nights 2 for a little bit, but I had really just picked up that game because I wanted to do the make your own adventure side of it, which was so complicated that it was like, I'm not touching this anyway. So yeah, I must admit, I was really blown away by it. The graphics are good, and just the whole kind of from what it appears, they are very conscious of equality. The armor is not the usual fantasy armor for females. No one's in a bikini. It's cool looking armor, but it is still at the very core of it. It does what it does, which is to protect the person wearing it. Supposedly. I died a lot of times, but yeah,
You're not bitter at all.
I'm not bitter at all. No, I think on the stream, because I did it as a stream, I think I died twice in stream. And when the character died the first time around, I think everyone was just surprised because it was so early on. It's like, huh, sure, okay. Level 1 character versus a intellect devourer. Intellect devourer one-shot the character.
That sounds about right. They're no joke.
No, what it was doing, I think it was doing a D10 damage or a D8 damage, and the character only had 8 hit points anyway. If anything, I must admit, when you're playing that game, you're going, well, how close are these to the actual D&D rules? How close have they got it? And they've changed one thing noticeably, which I don't think it's a bad thing, but it took a little bit of adjusting to get to, where they deduct your skill proficiency from the die roll rather than adding it to your die roll.
Oh yeah.
Well, they deduct, so not from your roll, they deduct it from the difficulty level. So if the difficulty is 10 and you've got proficiency in something, it'll be 8. So that took a bit of getting used to, because sometimes there's a request for you to make a die roll and the difficulty number is 5. You're like, you're making me roll for a difficulty of 5? I don't understand. Why am I even rolling? What, but then you realize, oh, hang on a moment, you've modified it down to 5. So that kind of makes more sense. And you still fail that roll. I do think the game is, it might be a random dice number generator, but I think the game is like, no, but you've had too many successes so far. We need to offset this a little bit. And oh my goodness, they do one thing which I think, I'm not sure if it demonstrates how D&D is broken, but I think it demonstrates why D&D doesn't take into account actual geometry. And that is, in the game, if you have a bow, you are more likely to succeed in combat than someone who has a sword and plus 20 to hit, because of the way your mechanics work. And there have been many combats which have taken place over the length of the map, because you fire with your bow and then you move 30 feet and your opponent moves 30 feet. And then you fire with your bow and you move, so it's a constant running battle, which I don't think often happens around the table. Or you just climb up a mountainside and you fire down on them. And because of the angle, in the game, it takes into account the hypotenuse length. So suddenly you're out of range from the ground. Or, anyway, it's very interesting to see that. And they can do it, obviously, because the game is doing all the maths for you. But when you're sitting around a table, no.
Yeah, you're not worrying about, well, it's 30 feet away, but 30 feet high. So is that really right? 45 feet or 60 feet or whatever it is?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
I joked about, playing it and maybe streaming it, but I just, like, you just brought up the things. You're like 20 hours plus into that game. And that is my greatest fear. I'll be like, I won't do anything else. And we need to do other things.
Yes.
And my wife and kids will be like, where have you been? And literally, like, people will be on stream watching my beard grow. So
I think that could be quite fun, actually.
Yeah. I have not played any video games in probably a couple years.
Right.
And even when I did, I didn't play Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter's Night. I didn't play all those games either.
Yeah.
I just I don't know. I don't have a lot of room in my hobbies for too many. Like, RPGs take so much up as it is.
Yes. I very seldom play RPGs because otherwise, I love Dragon Age and all of its iterations and Mass Effect and that sort of thing. But that was when I was younger, and now you go, okay, cool, starting to play. All right, I've got, an hour here or an hour there. And you've got to spend an hour trying to remember where the hell you were last week anyway. So a mate of mine, he and I, we de-stress by playing together in the evenings occasionally. And we have literally been looking, going, okay, what game can we play together that's challenging, but only takes an hour and then is done?
Yeah.
Because that's all we have, and we don't want to come back and try and remember stuff. So that's been interesting trying to find games like that. But
honestly, for a while, I was playing League of Legends just for that reason.
Right.
Because like you play a game of it and it's essentially done, right?
Yes.
Whether you win, lose, or whatever. Not a great community over there, but like the fact that you can play and be done is what I liked about it. Where like I had gotten into what was it, City of Heroes for a little bit, and it's like I had it on my computer for a little while. I was like, oh no, this is not going to work. Because I'll stay up all night and be like the sun's coming up, and I am terrible like that. So it's just like, nah.
Did you ever play City of Villains?
No.
Because that came out after City of Heroes. I was like, oh yes, finally they have brought out the right RPG. You know?
Yeah.
I think that you go through phases in your life as you change and as the world around you changes. And priorities also change a little bit. I mean, I remember Friday night was a fixed routine for me, and my weekends were pretty much fixed. Friday night was go and watch a film, eat at a cheap, crappy restaurant, and then plan Saturday for gaming. Yeah. And then we would role play Saturday, or we'd play computer games Saturday into Sunday, and then sneak home and try and finish homework for school or for university. And now I look at it and I go, no, I don't think I have that much time. I can pencil you in for a 2-hour film, but thereafter I have to leave because I've got to go and do this, or I've got to go and do that, or, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, it gets harder. I mean, when you got, especially like after we started Nerdarchy, and I'm sure you definitely went through the same thing where you're like, oh, you're doing this YouTube business, you have a job, and then there's a family on top of that. You know, it doesn't leave a whole lot of time for other things. And then also, the more we did Nerdarchy, the more RPGs we were playing. Yeah. So, I mean, like this week, potentially I've got 5 games going on.
This week?
Yeah. I mean, that's high for me. I mean, usually it's like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
5 is a bit high, and I'm running 3 of them. So, I'm excited for the Friday night game because it's my first time playing Monster of the Week.
Right, I've heard about that. I have not played that.
Yeah.
Is it rules heavy?
No, it's Apocalypse. Powered by the Apocalypse. So it's not. It's I guess it's 2d6 plus whatever. I'm going to find out Friday. Like I said. Okay. Playing Sniffles the werewolf. He's allergic to dogs.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. I like that.
It was a little odd though. Like, so it was supposed to be a 1-shot. Now it's going to be like a 2 or 3 shot. Right. Because like everyone, like, there's this like chain of 40 emails about this game, and they're talking about Session 0, which I'm a huge fan of Session 0, but not so much for a 1-shot. And then like all the stuff we covered in the 1-shot. And then they're like, oh no, like we talked to Juice because it's going to be on Juice's channel, and we're going to actually do 2 or 3. Well, I'm like, okay, well this makes more sense then, because of like, I'm like, all this stuff you're covering in this Session 0, there's no way we're doing that in 1 session, unless it's going to be like a marathon.
So that's the one system. What other systems you playing?
Cypher system. Which actually, when you were talking about Baldur's Gate, the way they do things, it's kind of how Cypher System kind of works. Gotcha. Just your DC lowers as it gets easier, or goes up as it gets harder.
Right.
And then you don't add anything to the die. Yeah. And then D&D, of course. Yeah. So it's like 3 D&D games and 2 other games.
Right.
So.
I must admit, I mean, I've been doing these reviews now, and on the role-playing systems, and not getting much chance to actually role-play them. Yeah. But more having to read through them so that I could vaguely understand the rules and try and get an impression. So I've just finished doing the Dark Eye, which is rules dense it really feels like going back to second edition type of stuff. And this next month we start soonish. We're hoping. There's just been some delays with the actual book itself. It's brand new. It hasn't come out yet. And the rule book is a solid rule book. I think it's like 300 and something pages, but the system is incredibly light.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, oh, a light system. I can do this.
Yeah.
This is good. We need more light systems, less dense systems, because there's less to remember and there's less this and that.
Yeah. Cipher systems like that too, right? Like that's
right.
That's a hefty book, right? But actually,
Yeah.
I was refreshing myself on the rules and reading through, and I'm like, oh, like there's like this huge swath like this of that book that you can just skip because it's all player stuff and it doesn't really matter for running it anyway. But yeah.
Do you find that sometimes you do that? Is go, oh, it's player stuff. I don't have to read that. I can skip it. As the GM. Do you find that?
Yeah, well, I would say it depends on the game, right?
Sure.
But for the most part, yeah, because like a lot of that stuff is just like a list of specific things that character can do, as opposed to another character can do. As long as you get the gist of how the rules work around those features, you're fine, and you don't really need to know those.
Yeah.
I mean, I found myself reading some of them anyway, just because they were interesting, but
right.
But I found like the beginning section for each of those, I would, you want to read that and understand how it works, but you don't need the nuts and bolts of each particular choice.
Power and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but also like, it's also different of, I'm running this game and playing it. I'm not reviewing it.
Right.
Although what you're doing sounds like the worst of all worlds. They're like, you're not getting to play it,
right?
And you're just reading through the rules, because very rarely are RPG rule books exciting to read.
Well, yeah, I do. I must admit, there is a certain small part of me which I find very weird, because I'm not a math person at all. I'm not into statistics and I'm not into any of that kind of stuff. But having designed a lot of systems where I've had people come to me and point out the math, I'm going, okay. So, like, for example, when I was reading, I forget the name of it now. And you're going, okay, so you're rolling this many dice and you're doing that. But wait, when you get to level 15, you're rolling 30 dice. That's just I've done that.
Yeah.
Star Wars D6 system used to do that. Maybe this is one to skip, or so. But a lot of it is like, okay, that's how they handle that. That's silly. Maybe actually, you know what? Hang on. While we talk about stupid rules, you know far more than I do 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Maybe, we'll see.
I need you to explain to my little brain why Thunderwave, the spell, why you have to make a Constitution saving throw to avoid being pushed back by Thunderwave.
And not a strength?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a strength would make more sense in that instance.
Right? Because I had that come up in a game the other day, and the player was like, no, it's Constitution. I'm like, that's stupid. Why the hell would it be Constitution? You can't stand there and be stronger internally against a Thunderwave. It's pushing you. It's a force. Health has nothing to do with it.
The only thing I can think of is they wanted it to attack one of your good saves. And the good saves they consider to be Dex, Con, and Wisdom. And the other saves are considered to be the lesser saves.
Sure.
Stats. I don't, for whatever reason, and maybe that's why they do it, because like cold a lot of times will attack your con, and that makes sense.
Yeah,
because you're just kind of enduring. You're enduring it, but like you said, a physical push is a resist. So there's weird things like that throughout the game that it seems like it was just like an arbitrary decision.
Yes, except that we know that it would have been debated over by the guys writing it, and someone would have read it and flagged it and asked and debated and so yeah, I don't know. I see Mega Mawali is saying that Thunderwave attacks con because you can't avoid it, only endure it. Again, I feel like if it was just you took damage or you didn't take damage. Then it's your internal organs resisting pressure from the wave, right? From the thunder wave. If you can just hunker down and just be a healthy person and your liver resists, then that's fine. But the fact that you physically get pushed back, I could see the argument that you're trying to make, that you are being pushed back regardless. You're not actually trying to resist being pushed back. It's just all this pressure that's on you, and you're trying to resist not bursting whilst being pushed back. But I don't know. I still feel it's one of those kind of gripes that they come up every now and again. I'm like, this is why players don't run games, because player character things have stupid powers. I don't know. Anyway, sorry. That's anyway,
fine. That's fine. I always have things like that. Like I'm lobbying to get rid of alignment.
Oh yeah.
Or make it mean something, one or the other.
Right? Yes, absolutely. But I think moving forward, it's going to get removed completely.
I think so. There's certain sacred cows they just weren't ready to kill yet.
Yes.
And that one maybe in the next edition. That needs to go. I think we can get rid of scores. Scores are pretty pointless.
Yeah, right. Nowadays, yeah.
It's like extra math. That doesn't really mean a whole lot. But these are things from the game from when it was conceived in the beginning, so
yes,
they're just not ready. Like one of the best things Mutants and Masterminds did was when they went from 2nd edition to 3rd edition, with each edition they just removed more and more D&D isms, and getting rid of the scores and just using the modifiers made me so happy. I don't know why, but it did. So yeah, I mean, again, with things like Thunderwave, and they're mentioning it in the chat as well. It could just as easily just be a design decision for balance. Like, although I don't think it's because they had too many strength saving throws and not enough con, but I think it has to do with like they're looking to target X amount of con, dex and wisdom, in my opinion. But who knows? I don't know. I think I'm gonna have Chris Perkins on here at some point. Maybe there's been talks. If it happens, nice. That'll be my ambush question.
Thank you.
Let
me know.
Like we get guests on here, and like some of them are always worried about like the gotcha and ambush questions. My gotcha and ambush question is that's what it's going to be. That's what they're like. Why did you use strength saving? Why did you use a strength saving throw? Why con?
Why Constitution? Tell us now. Don't think about it. Just answer truthfully.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes this game gets taken a little too serious.
Oh yeah. Oh no, absolutely.
So what are you playing nowadays?
I'm doing D&D I run a live show which is D&D based, and then I do a private game which is also D&D, and they're both still low level games, so I'm enjoying running them. I don't like running high level D&D games, I must confess. It gets as much as I hate to say it, it just gets too counter as you get higher level, as each character gets more powers to avoid stuff. You have to throw more stuff. It's a Cold War that I think nobody wins personally. I could just be bad at running high level campaigns. Maybe that's just me. I don't think out of the box too much, but
they do get a lot more cumbersome as you start adding levels. Once you get past like 10th, and also what the scope of what they can do,
right? It's like I try and hit your character. Well, good luck. I have 15 this and I have that, and I can shadow step 180,000 miles into a different plane as a free action before I return, and then and you're like, well, my monsters can't do that.
It was, I think it was like. It was in December. Like, I don't remember which one, but I was running a game, and I was like, I just wanted to do something holiday themed, so I grabbed Orcus Claws from Frog God Games, and it's like a 3rd level adventure. My players were like 17th. I'm like, this will work. I'll just double some numbers and add some things. And it did for the most part, except for they're in this village, and Orcus claws to get to them. They're at the top of this mountain, and like there's this like whole thing you have to go through to get to them. And my one player, the wizard, is like, I'm just going to wish us to the mountain. So I'm like, okay, there's that.
There is that.
Yeah. So but that was good because then it made the adventure last only one night instead of several. So we were able to get it through it and get it done.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's the kind of stuff that happens at high levels when your player is just like, yeah, I'm just gonna wish this thing. Yeah. And also too, like, wish is a spell where you have to be a little bit careful because you could lose it forever. But the other side of that is, by the time you get wish, how many more sessions of that character do you even have?
Exactly.
It's correct. Like, oh no, the last 2 sessions of the game, I won't be able to use that one spell anymore. So
yeah, no, that's true. That's true. So what is your second go-to system if you don't do D&D?
Man, I don't know if I got one. Like, I'm enjoying running Cypher. Cypher's pretty easy. And it's just one of those games, like, I feel like you can just BS your way through really easy, like, because so the other game I like a lot too is Mutants and Masterminds. It's the same way, right? Like, you have like a set power level to that game too.
Yeah.
And once you know those, like, it's just a swing up and down from that like default number. So like all the other numbers kind of become arbitrary.
Yes.
So it's not like D&D has a lot of components that are independent of themselves. So you have a lot of moving pieces that make up on the fly, the armor class, the hit points, how many attacks, all the special abilities, how they work, right? And they all have their own rules. But in Cypher system and Mutants and Masterminds, a lot of times the powers are all effect based. So you just describe them differently. It's the descriptors that matter. So when you're running the game, mechanically, that doesn't make any difference. It makes all the difference for the players because like it shapes the narrative and the story. But from the GM side of things, like they don't see all the mechanics, so it doesn't matter. Like, you just know, well, a reasonably difficult challenge is a 15 in Cypher system. If you want them to actually have to try to do it, or if it's something they're good at, they're going to do it half the time.
Right.
If it's something that you want to be easier, you can just adjust down or up from there, or harder up from there. So like, I don't feel like I really need to use their monsters and NPCs as much. I can just narrate. And use those mechanics.
I haven't ever played Cypher system. I must have a look and see.
Have you played Numenera?
No.
Okay.
I've heard of Numenera many times.
I was just gonna say because it's the same game. Well, it's weird because it's funny because they made Numenera, which is a setting and a system.
That's right. It's a setting, yes.
But then they went and stripped the setting out of Numenera, and that's how you got Cypher system as a generic. So I think it works really good if you don't have a system to do something you want to do, and you don't want something like super rules heavy or crunchy. It works well. It's like it's got just enough, right? It's right. It's not as light as say like a Fate, a Fate Accelerated or some other games, but it's not as crunchy as D&D either.
Right. Yeah. And what do you think of games where the GM doesn't roll anything?
That's Cypher system.
Is that Cypher?
It is weird because I keep wanting to reach for my dice, and I'm like, oh, I don't need to. Or like I want to figure something out randomly, and I'm like, I don't have any dice because I don't need them, and I just ask one of the players to roll.
Right, because so I've got the next system that I'm reviewing is only being launched next weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, their big launch is happening next weekend at the Spiel convention. And I've got the rules, and I've been reading the rules, and the GM doesn't roll anything.
What game is that?
I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you, actually.
Oh. Is it on the website for the convention?
It must be.
Because if it's on there, I imagine you can talk about it. If not, I don't know. But anyway,
Well,
tell
anyway,
people
so
what is the event you're going to be doing. It's this weekend.
it's this coming weekend, 22nd to the 25th is Spiel, Spiel in Germany. It's a mega board game convention.
Yeah.
But it's digital this year, obviously. So it takes place in 7 days, 16 hours, and 23 minutes. I'm just looking at their website now. So yeah.
All right, so you said you're going to be doing stuff over there. Are you running games? You doing panels?
I'm running a live. I'm doing the English playthrough of this new RPG system.
Okay.
I'm fairly certain I can tell you. Anyway, and in that one, the GM doesn't roll anything. You roll stuff. And what I quite like is that you have they call it your Kismet dice, which is basically like your karma dice. And if you roll a 1 on it, the monster gets to use its special power. Whereas if you roll a 6 on it, you get to use your special power.
Okay.
And that's how they trigger monster stuff. So imagine a red dragon and you're fighting a red dragon and the players just never roll a 1. The red dragon never breathes fire.
Oh, wow.
He never uses his breath weapon because it never gets activated, right?
So, yeah, so Cypher system...
Yeah, like, what?
Cypher system, if the players roll 1, they get a GM intrusion. Which this is narratively the DM gets to do something to kind of screw them over, and they don't get rewarded for it. Normally, the GM can do intrusions and be like, "Hey, I'm going to intrude. Here's an XP for you, and here's an XP for one of your buddies. You pick."
Gotcha. Okay.
If they don't want the GM intrusion, they have to give me XP to reject it.
Interesting.
But if they have no XP to give, they just have to get it. They have to get the GM intrusion.
Right.
Now, in the game that we're playing, we stream it Tuesday nights. I talked to my players beforehand, and I said, "Hey, can we forego the bargaining, and will you guys just trust me and accept the GM intrusions?" They're like, "Yeah, we're totally cool with that." This is a stream game, and I didn't want to do the back and forth during the stream game. And,
Yeah.
And also, I feel like as long as you have a DM that's trying to like further the story and make interesting things happen,
right,
it's not a big deal, and it's a way for me to give them XP. So
sure. Yeah, I don't know. So the book is on their website, so I can tell you, it is Talisman RPG, which is based on the Talisman board game. Now, the Talisman board game is a big dungeon crawl board game. It's been going on forever. It's super popular. And so the company has now made it into an RPG. And yeah, like I said, there's this Kismet thing where the GM is more of is freed up to do a lot more role playing because you don't have to worry about anything else. You're just keeping track of stuff, which is interesting, I thought. And what I particularly find interesting is that the races you can play, you got human, you got elf, you got dwarf, then you can play a ghoul, or you can play a troll or a sprite. And you're like, wait, like troll, like a real troll? And the trolls are pretty cool. The ghouls literally eat dead bodies. That's their thing. And
sounds great at dinner parties,
right? Absolutely. Yeah, and the sprites are little tiny sprite things. So I haven't finished reading through it yet, but it's like I said, it's one of those things where you start reading, you're like, this is interesting. The rules are there, but they're not. I'm not going. Refer to page 12 for the subclause rule on page 55 before you look at this rule clarification in the appendices of page, whatever. I'm not sure.
Like D&D is exception based, right? So like here's all these rules, except for when X happens, right? So that makes things a little more complicated. Yes. And also, I think the thing about not rolling dice, I think we also can call that plausible deniability. So when
Right.
the bad stuff happens, we're like, don't look at me. You guys are doing all the dice rolling.
Well, absolutely. It's like, not me. Look, the monster says when you roll a 1, it breathes fire all over everybody, and that's
Yeah.
that is what it is. I'm sorry. But that's what scares me the most, I must admit, is, I mean, I will be the first to raise my hand and tell and say that I am a narrative-based GM. The collective story is way more important than the rules for me. And in this case, you're going, well, I can't even roll
Yeah.
and claim to have missed or claim to have hit, or I just have to watch as you kill yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Even like in Cypher, it's weird because like the players make a defense roll, right? I
Yeah.
don't make any attack rolls. I'm just like, oh, the monster goes after you. Roll your defense against,
Oh, I see.
whatever
Okay,
the
and
target number is, right?
right, and you
And
fail your
it,
defense, and
yeah, then they take the damage, and usually it's based off of the level of the monster, right? So Cipher system works 1 through 10 by a factor of 3, uh, which is a little extra. It seems like a little bit of an extra complication, but so like when you're setting your challenges or your DCs,
mm,
it's 1 through 10. So, but it's actually 3 through 30, and then it has like these things where, oh, if you have things that make it easier for you, it just brings it down. So a 5 would be a 15. One step, would bring it down to a 4, which is a 12. It's another system that has some extra math, but
right.
but it's still pretty easy to do on the fly. And there aren't like a ton of rules. There's not like a
Mm,
ton of things that you have to worry about.
mm.
I'm gonna jump in the chat real quick. There's a couple questions. Mega Mawile, have you ever played Mekton Zeta? I've never even heard of it, so that would be a negative. Is that on your radar?
Not on mine, not on mine. But I'm not one of the cool kids.
I mean, you're doing a lot of different games now. Uh,
Now, yeah,
uh, is that Ulysses North America?
I did both of theirs. Yeah, which
Yeah,
was Torg, and you guys played Torg, didn't you?
yeah. Torque was fun. I think
It
that
was.
we did it as a stream game, but
Yeah,
honestly, I would call that a table game.
yeah, yeah.
Because there's so many moving parts. Daryl, the GM, did a pretty good job.
Mm,
But it's a tough stream game because you've got cards, you got
yeah,
tokens and chips.
yeah.
You
Well,
roll dice.
we only managed, I think, to get it mostly right by actually using tabletop simulator plus, so we had just so many windows open to show what was happening, and the players
Mm.
didn't have their cards and stuff.
So what we
Yeah,
did is we each had our own decks just to have the
right,
cards physically.
yeah.
But then in Fantasy Grounds, there's actually a deck feature, and they're able to build the deck there. So the
Ah,
GM would do all the deck stuff, and then
yes,
we would pull them out of our decks and have them
right.
available.
So yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a fun game. I liked it. It's definitely a little bit on the crunchier side.
Yeah.
The lore was a lot of fun. The mechanics were kind of
Mm.
interesting. The way things worked, like the martyr card is a lot of fun. It's like in that game, there's a way to kill yourself to get like some kind of epic success,
Right, right.
which I don't know. It can be a little fatalistic like that sometimes, but yeah, if you're gonna go out, at least it's cool to like have control of it and not just
Right.
has
Yeah, yeah,
have it
yeah.
happen.
Correct, correct. Or leap dramatically into the line of enemy fire, but then
Yeah,
completely fail and fall and die slowly. Yeah. I can do it. Anyway,
yeah.
sorry, I interrupted you asking a question.
Oh, no worries. Dead Aussie Gamer wanted to know about Maximum Apocalypse. You ran
Yeah,
and reviewed that one too, right?
I did. Yeah. That was a lot of fun, I must admit. And when I was reading the rules, this is I think for me the greatest joy of reading rule books, which I'm not sure if it offsets having to try and remember all of the rules, but it's definitely a reason to do it was they have a mechanic in there for handling scrapped and scrounged stuff really well in that. And I was like, oh, this is brilliant. This is what we needed.
It's a nice abstraction the way they do it.
Yeah, absolutely. But why not? It makes it easier, and it makes it more accessible to people who don't know how to accidentally jury rig an atomic bomb.
Yeah.
Right now they can. Anyone can do it. You just got to have 20 of these and 5 of those, and you're done.
Yeah, we played a few of those, a few sessions of that. I think we played 3. We played 1 online.
Okay.
And 2 off. Actually, a buddy of mine kind of acted like a consultant on the rules.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, well, so he's done other games for the company that put it out, Rock Manor.
Right.
He did Set a Watch with them, which did really well.
Okay.
And so, and that company's fairly local to us. It's like 1 state over. So, depending where they are in that state, they're only like 45 minutes, hour and a half away from us.
Gotcha.
When you on the global scale, that's might as well be a neighbor.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So we played 2 sessions offline, and then during their Kickstarter, they wanted us to do a stream game. So we put together a different crew to play with and did a stream game. And all of them were a lot of fun. And the game, honestly, when I first looked at the character sheet, I'm like, this is a lot, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
But then it actually plays a lot smoother than the character sheet reads.
I like that. And I like the fact that it was... as you say, you kind of intimidate. You're like, wow, there's all these little pluses and plus 5% and minus 10% and this and that. But as you work through it, I felt it was very narrative in a way. It was like, okay, so describe your childhood. This gives you 5% here, here, and here. Then describe how your apocalypse happened. Describe how you survived. And I liked the journey that it took you on. And that kind of made the math a lot less... crunchy, and it helped me visualize the character a lot better by going, oh, well, actually you lose 5% from ballistics because you have a broken arm, or you have a this, or you have a that, or so yeah, I did like it, I must admit.
The concept was fun too.
Yeah every apocalypse like
at once.
Except they missed one.
Oh, what they miss?
Plague.
There was no pandemic in there.
There is no COVID.
Yeah, I'm kind of I am surprised.
But I mean, what would you do there? You get a boost to your boredom stat as the most boring apocalypse takes place. I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, Ted said he just got his copy of the Apocalypse RPG in the mail yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah. And the GM did a great job that ran for us too. The designer, made it a lot of fun. And when we streamed the game, like we actually spent quite a bit of time talking about how to play the game in a stream. Because I feel like nowadays, if you're putting out an RPG, you need like the rules for the game, and then you need the stream rules.
Yeah,
because it's entertainment too, right? So it's like there's a lot of minutia.
Yeah.
That, people that are watching the stream aren't going to care about. Like,
yes.
I mean, even when Daryl ran Torg for us, that's one of the things we kind of like said, hey, we want to do it where we're not like explaining rules so much, and we're just kind of moving through the narrative.
Yes.
And so when I talked to those guys about that and we're going to do it, they took that advice to heart, and they pulled some things back for the stream. I'm like, especially like you're trying to sell this game, you don't want to be discussing rules during the game. You want to show people having fun playing it. That's
it. I mean, that's been our approach. So I've got whenever we do a review, I've got 3 players that have signed on with me, and I get a copy of the rules. They get a copy of the rules. They start reading it from a player perspective, and then we do one playthrough.
Yeah.
And our mandate, we say this to anybody who gives us a role-playing system to review anyway, is we say, we will play this game to have fun. And if that means we are making an incorrect rules call, we're not going to stop and check the rules to try and find out what it should actually be. We're just going to we'll roll with it, and then later on we'll come back and reflect and go, oh, we were completely wrong, or
that's what the internet's for anyway, right?
That is, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
to yell at us how we got it wrong and how we're noobs.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
So Brian Smith wants to know, how do you organize your ideas? I often have notes jotted across multiple notepads and Word docs. How do you keep it all in order?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. How do you do it?
Well, so essentially, previously I would do it in a notebook, and if I would like hold up that notebook and show you, it would look like you dropped it off at an insane asylum and into one of the rooms. Because I've got things written all over the place in boxes and circles, not always on the line, not always straight across. And more recently, see, I don't do a lot of prep before games a lot of times. I tend to take more notes while I'm gaming. And those notes from this session becomes my prep for next session, kind of. So I've been using D&D Beyond a lot for that, for my D&D games anyway. So that works out really well. And it's like you have a DM section for your campaigns, and I just break it down by session, and then I have my notes, and then I kind of run off of that. Not super organized, but that's what I do. Cypher system for the game I've been streaming, I've been using Trello, and because it's a little sandboxy, I was like, oh, here's ciphers, here's NPCs, here's locations, here's plot beats, and they're just just cards, and then if something evolves a lot, it might get its own column, and I just so I'll start moving the plot and the location and the NPCs relevant to that place over there, and you can color code stuff. So that's what I've been experimenting with lately. But
that sounds interesting. I must admit, I kind of feel like I have to admit, if I'm going to do, I have two categories of stuff that I will work with. So I have category for players. So this is stuff players need to see. Okay, that needs to be categorized and work quite well, and presented in a way that they can access it and reflect upon it and that sort of thing. And this is for stream games, right? Around the table, it's a different sort of experience. But for that, I just throw stuff onto World Anvil. Obviously, they have all my maps, like maps and things that players need to be able to check up on and that sort of thing. I throw them there. But for story ideas and for keeping track of stuff, I was just laughing because here's my book for the game, and I'm also looking at it going, yeah, I got boxes and circles, and the lines are really just a guide more than an actual target. And I was thinking, if you have a piece of software, what would work for me? Because I'm a very visual thinker.
Yeah.
And when I open this book, I don't know where in the book I was lost. So I have to page through it. And by paging through it, I see a little star next to an NPC name. And I'm going, why did I start? Oh, because he learned that they were doing the thing. I could now use him in today's session as a bounty hunter or as a, so I like getting inspiration from all of my scattered notes, because it allows me to then sort of do that. So you go, well, software is too rigid in that it hides all of that stuff behind folders and menus. Which
I think you might like Trello then.
Oh God, no!
Because it's laid out in front of you and you kind of see it all.
Oh, people thought that. They thought that. We're doing a Kickstarter at the moment, and we have it's a partnership, and my business partner and this third party, we had a meeting this morning, and they were talking about stuff. I'm like, guys, where is all this information? I don't know any of this. They're like, it's all on the Trello. Didn't you check the Trello? I'm like, I saw the Trello. It had some stuff there. Like, did you read any of it? Well, the titles, but I didn't see it. They talk about Excel spreadsheets, and they're talking about this and that. And I'm like, they're like, did you click on any of the stuff? I'm like, you have to click on it? What's this nonsense? What's this nonsense? So
honestly, anyway. And that's funny you mention that, because because Doug is always trying to get us more organized and efficient. God bless his soul. And it's like herding chaos cats.
Right.
And like I have totally failed at using Trello for all kinds of things. It's kind of good for project management, but I am resistant to order. Uh, but I did find that I did like it for running my game from.
Yeah.
Uh,
Interesting.
Only because I can see it all. Like, oh, where's that
Yes.
NPC I need? Like I said, sandbox. I think is great for sandboxy things.
Yeah.
And like your note becomes an NPC. Well, it gets its own card, and then you might have a description, and that star
Right.
that you made on it becomes just like a note on there
Right.
of why you
Right.
made why you made the star in the first place.
Yeah. I feel like if I make a full transition, so yeah, again, I mean, if I'm doing it for my players, then I do it nicely and organized, and they can find stuff. But if it's for myself, I feel like I would need to have one of those Wacom tablets, you can write on.
Yeah.
But I would need to have like a spider diagram software so that I could write
a mind map, a
mind map, right? Because that's kind of what
They
my
have
book was
those.
like anyway. It's a multi-page mind map, right?
Yeah.
But because then you could do NPC and do a little star and a little drawing of a dragon, and I mean all the other stuff that goes on in one's head while you're running these games. So yeah, it's also, I think, what you grow up with though, and what you're familiar with. Because I look at it and I go, I've been role playing now for what, 20 plus years, and for at least the first 10 years of that role playing, there was no such thing as the internet, or if there was, it was a vague memory, a vague idea, and you didn't use a computer for any of that stuff. Everything was handwritten. So for at least 50% of my gaming experience, now I'm realizing it's that number's becoming 30% of my gaming experience. It's always been pen and paper. So that transition is maybe a bit slower than it should be. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't even start using a laptop until after we started Nerdarchy.
Right.
I didn't even own one before then. I've always just had desktops.
Yeah.
So like you're not going to run a game from your desktop. You're not carrying that around with you.
I'm just going to set up quickly.
Yeah.
Plus, in those days, it would have been a CRT monitor, which weighed a ton. I remember those.
Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, same here. It was always like handwritten notes. But then when I did start running from a laptop, it was just like PDFs with tabs everywhere. To the thing that I want to reference at some point or another in the game.
Yeah.
So organization is not my strong suit and never has been.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway,
Dan C wants to know if has your Kickstarter been realized yet?
No, not at all. We're it's quite a technical thing, so we're still in development of that. But we're getting there. We're hoping to make some announcements in November.
We are also working on our next one as well, and it's like, mostly we're just trying to finish up the one we're doing, and but there's nothing for us to do. It's just like we're waiting on this, waiting on that, and like we had to switch our fulfillment for international at the last minute. Not great. So that's going to add a bunch of time to it. I mean, it's all getting figured out and everyone's going to get their stuff. It's just logistically it's not been fun.
It just takes time. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think also, I don't think people realize what goes into a successful Kickstarter. The pre-planning, the execution of it, and then post that, the stress that comes in.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a fairly straightforward Kickstarter for Nautical Campaigns, and I think it was only a month ago, so literally 7 months after it finished, did we eventually go, right, done, it's done, everything is done.
You got the books out really quick, though.
Well, we'd written it before we launched the Kickstarter. That was the big thing. And we'd worked really closely with the printers to get it out as fast as possible. It was them who then caused the international scandal.
Oh no, you had a scandal?
Well, it was an unfortunate. They obviously took on extra people to do all of the shipping internationally, and there was an error on the print label. They put the total shipping cost for the books, all the books going to Europe, onto the price tag of a single book. Oops. So we had customers going, customs just delivered my $40 book with a $900 customs fee.
Yeah.
Because according to the contents, it's $5,000 book. It's like, no, all of the books were $5,000. So they've sorted that out, though. I mean, it was their problem, but you're still the one going, oh my God, okay, how do we contact the guys and tell them, do not pay the customs fee, please do not pay the customs fee. You're not supposed to pay anything, So there's a lot of stress in that. I think you also have to, I think the other thing is that you have to make sure that whatever you're doing, you would want to back yourself. And so like the book that we're working on at the moment, we tested it and we did a photo shoot this afternoon to try and showcase all the different stuff. And during the photo shoot, we're going, if we just change that one thing, it would make it like 12% better.
Yeah.
Can we do it? And then we have a meeting about it. And then you go, well, yes, but it's going to push us back a month because now we have to find someone who, makes this type of paper or this type of whatever. So anyway.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It is.
But yeah, you're right. So much goes into it. I think for us, the biggest hang up was we just put a lot of art in the book.
Yeah.
And not only did we put a lot of art in the book, we had the same people do the art. So
yes,
that greatly slowed things down. Had we used more artists,
right,
it would have been a lot. Yeah, it would have been a lot faster.
Yeah.
But we're like, we want the same kind of look across the board for this and that. And going forward, like we'll take that stuff into consideration and figure out a better way. So I don't know. I'm really happy with the final product. And now it's just getting it in everybody's hands. It's coming. Everyone, I'm getting all these emails. When's it going to be here? Can you give me an estimated delivery time? I'm like, I've never done this before. I'm figuring it out as we go. It's like, because you need this one thing to happen or these two things to happen before you can actually get the information you need to give people information. So right. Like, I don't actually know. We're working on it. So
that's it.
But yeah. So we're actually 4 minutes past the time. I didn't even realize it.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Final thoughts before we head on out.
My final thoughts? I've had so much fun talking to you, Dave. I mean, it's been brilliant. It's great. And I think, one thing that never ceases to amaze me is that, as you mentioned, I think we spoke a lot more when I was in Tokyo, on the other side of the freaking planet, because the time zones were so bad that we were actually synced up.
Yeah.
And then I moved to the UK and we haven't spoken in a while, but I really, you make such amazing friends through this hobby that it's like, we haven't spoken in a couple of months, but we'll pick it up as if it was yesterday and just enjoy and go with it. And I'm always in awe of our hobby for doing that, so anyway. Was that too deep a thought? Should I have?
That's perfect. And also, folks, go hang out at Spiel this weekend.
Check out
the things going on over there. And Guy. So is that a mix? Is that a mix of languages or is it all in English?
No. So Spiel is in two very specific languages. It's in English and it is in German.
Okay.
So you can improve your German. But what I do like about it is that every submission is tagged either as English or as German or as both sometimes. And I know that a lot of the companies that I've been helping get ready for this event, they are actually doing everything twice. They're doing it once in German.
Yeah.
And that's usually at German friendly times, at European friendly times, so like midday on the Saturday and midday on the Sunday, and then they do the same show, but then they do it Saturday night Europe time, which is then kind of afternoon for the States, and then that's in English. So yeah, make sure to hit the right one. But it looks like it's going to be a very different kind of event because it's a big board gaming event.
Yeah,
usually.
that seems
And
difficult online, right?
Right? Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know that I've been doing stuff with board gamers and speaking to the guys that make the board games. And a lot of the videos that we're doing are things like, okay, so how do you make a better world environment for your board game rather than talk about your board games? And it's been fascinating. You know, a lot of board gamers go, well, you're an orc and you're fighting goblins. I'm like, yes, but why? What is the orc's motivation? What are their tribal names? Why do they eat pork on a Saturday? Do they, is it fish only Tuesdays? Like, what does that have to do with anything? They're like, everything. It has everything. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling, but yes,
okay.
Spiel.digital is the place to be. It's next weekend, 22nd to the 25th.
Will you have links to that on your website?
Yeah, well, we'll have it all on social media, probably starting from next week. I'm supposed to be going away this weekend to do birthday celebrations. So if I don't come back, it's because I've been eaten by Loch Ness Monster. Because we're going to Loch Ness.
If you're going to get eaten, why not have it be by a mythical creature?
Right? Exactly. It will prove two things. One, it exists, and two, it is big enough to be able to eat me. Yeah.
Well, as always, there are links in the description, and also there will be links in the pinned comment afterwards, so you can go check those out. Follow Guy. I'm sure most of you are following Guy anyway, so go to his website, follow his socials, find Spiel, check that out, all the things. And also, if you want to know about that Kickstarter he's going to be doing in the near future, you're probably going to want to follow that social media. So until next time, stay nerdy.